Hi. Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. The movie begins on a cold night in the small town of Los Alamos. Police frantically escort an ambulance to the hospital where we hear on the way that an unidentified male poured acid on his own face. Once there, a policeman attempts to speak with him, but he has been placed on a respirator, having seared his lungs closed. Trying to use a notepad to ask if he was part of some satanic cult, the officer gets no reply. The policeman receives a call from the receptionist who reports that the man's daughter is downstairs. Suddenly screams are heard and alert him to the John Doe's death, having jumped from the 10th floor window. 2 weeks earlier, and a young boy named Owen plays alone in the courtyard of his apartment building. We hear that his parents are going through a nasty divorce and Owen is often neglected. One night, while acting like a psycho in his room
Are you scared?
and spying on the fellow apartment dwellers, he notices some new arrivals to the building. A man with a young girl walking barefoot through the snow moves into the apartment right next door. At school, Owen watches the kids bully one another before his personal bully Kenny corners him in the locker room. With the help of his friends, Kenny holds Owen down and gives him a wedgie, causing Owen to piss his pants. We now see why Owen is so lonely and is on the way to becoming a psycho killer. That night in the courtyard, he notices the still shoeless Abby watching him, but she tells him right off the bat that they can't be friends and walks away. Later on, Owen watches her father leave via the courtyard, and we see what he gets up to by night. Father stalks a supermarket employee, knocking him out and stringing him up in the forest. He then proceeds to kill them and drain their body of blood. Though in his old age he is beginning to make mistakes and loses his entire haul. Later, Owen hears through the wall a deep voice yelling at father about having to do it all themselves.
Answer me!
The next night, Abby approaches Owen in the courtyard, asking about his Rubik's Cube as she's never seen one before.
This?
Owen notices that she smells bad and once again is not wearing shoes, so he asks her about it, but she replies that she doesn't get cold.
Okay, cool.
When heading home, Owen leaves her the Rubik's Cube for the night, but we hear a loud rumble from her stomach. Having to now hunt for herself, Abby waits in the shadows in a tunnel for an unsuspecting prey. When a stranger tries to help her out, she leaps on him and latches onto his neck, drinking his blood and eventually breaking his back. When she is finished with lunch, she breaks his neck and runs away. Owen hears father get angry at Abby through the wall and call her a bitch. He is thrown into the wall and made go clean it up. For father is her familiar, cleaning up after her and doing her vampiric bidding. The next day, when Owen finds the completed Rubik's Cube, he waits until night and confronts her about it in the courtyard.
Do I smell better now?
The now chewed and sweet-smelling Abby says that it was easy. And when asked about her age, she says 12 but isn't quite sure, having never celebrated a birthday.
I don't know.
She then spends the night teaching Owen how to solve the cube. While studying Romeo and Juliet at school, Owen takes the time to learn Morse code, and when bully Kenny notices Owen's enjoyment, he has to ruin it. Cornering Owen in the toilets with his boys, Kenny proceeds to hit Owen with a metal antenna, opening a cut on his cheek and threatening him not to tell his mother. That night, when the two meet up in the courtyard, Owen teaches her how to use Morse code so they can communicate through the wall. He tells Abby the truth about the bullies who marked his face, to which she tells him he needs to punch back, and that if he can't, she'll help, promising she is a lot stronger than he thinks.
You have to hit back.
That night, she kicks father out of his room to chat with Owen. And after stealing in front of Jesus, Owen takes Abby to a nighttime arcade to show her a good time. When seeing how happy it makes him, she decides to give some candy a try, which she quickly vomits up. Owen hugs her to cheer her up, and she asks him whether or not he would still like her if she wasn't a girl. Since he doesn't understand the question, she brushes it off. That night, the lonely Abby makes advancements towards father, wanting him to stay in for the night, but he can't as he needs to keep going out to look for blood. He jealously asks her not to see Owen, to which she refuses and goes to her room. This kill doesn't go so well, as he hides in the backseat like every other case, but suddenly gets spotted, and the victim puts up a struggle, alerting the public. A group of people run to the man's aid, causing father to reverse off an embankment and roll the car. To protect his and Abby's identity, he pours a bottle of the same acid he uses to dispose of his victims' bodies all over his face. Abby hears this news from a report on the radio, and barefoots it down to the hospital to check on him. When the receptionist tells her that the 10th floor is off limits and that police will come see her, she leaves and scales the building. Father comes to the window to see her, and with nothing else left in him, he offers his neck to her as a meal. She drains his blood and his body falls from the window, showing that the story is all caught up and that he didn't jump. Now completely alone, Abby goes to a half-asleep Owen, who invites her in. Abby tells him not to look at her, and proceeds to remove her bloody clothes, crawling into bed with him. Noticing she is freezing cold, Owen asks her to go steady with him. Not knowing what that really means, Abby agrees. At a school outing by the lake, the bullies approach Owen, threatening to push him through the ice.
Wow.
So this time, with a metal pole of his own, Owen whacks Kenny across the face and busts his ear. During this moment though, a group of children all start screaming, as they have discovered father's first victim in the ice. That night the policeman visits apartments throughout Owen's building, since one of its residents has been murdered. However, Abby doesn't answer the door. Owen tells her about the bullies and how he took her word and stood up for himself. Happy to hear this, Abby gives him a kiss. Owen then shows Abby a secret room in the apartment building, that he comes to be alone in. He pulls out a knife and tries to make a blood pact with her, but when Abby sees the blood drip, she drops to her knees and begins licking it up. No longer being able to stand the hunger with father not around, she reveals her vampire form to Owen. Yelling at him to go away, she runs out of the building and climbs a tree. Overcome with bloodlust, Abby waits there for Virginia to walk past, then pounces on her, only getting a bite in before having to flee from the boyfriend. With him now realizing the cause of all the deaths, and not getting any support from mom or dad, Owen is forced to talk to his only friend. He asks her if she is a vampire and how old she is. Not knowing what a vampire is, she just says she needs blood to survive, and is 12 but has been 12 for a very long time. Owen notices amongst the things a picture of Abby with a 12-year-old father. Realizing he was actually Abby's boyfriend, he leaves.
I thought we couldn't be friends.
Back at the hospital, the policeman asks Larry some questions about his girlfriend's attacker, believing them to be performing satanic rituals as the bodies were drained of blood. Suddenly Virginia wakes up a vampire. Having had a blood transfusion, she begins to drink her new blood. As a nurse walks in and opens the curtain, the blood-soaked Virginia bursts into flames, killing the nurse in the inferno. The next night Abby requests to be invited in, and when Owen asks what happens if he doesn't, she shows him. Her eyes and skin begin to bleed, so Owen quickly invites her in to stop it and hugs her. After showering though, they have no time at all before Owen's mother gets home and she has to jump out the window. The next morning, based on the description of Virginia's attacker, the policeman has come back to speak with Abby. Owen wakes up to him kicking the door down and hides in the darkness. The policeman finds her asleep in the bathtub, but tries to open a window, cracking her skin and causing Owen to spring out and tell him to stop, giving Abby time to pounce on him and viciously rip at his neck, while Owen just leaves him to be feasted on. Abby emerges from the bathroom and tells Owen that she must go away before the other cops come. So she hops in a taxi and leaves town that night. Life goes on as normal for Owen, getting bullied every day at school, only this time Kenny's brother wants revenge. Threatening to take one of Owen's eyes, he forces him to hold his breath for 3 minutes in the vacant pool. After a while, chaos breaks out above Owen, and the bully's screams are heard as severed limbs begin falling into the water around him. He surfaces to Abby's bloody feet, and the two leave the 4 dismembered bullies for the janitors to clean up. And the movie ends with Owen, her new familiar, and soon to be the new father. Let Me In is a 2010 romantic horror film written and directed by Matt Reeves. It is a remake of the 2008 Swedish film Let the Right One In, and Stephen King named it Best Film of 2010. Despite being asked twice by Owen, Abby never reveals her true age, and we only hear the word vampire once. A few scenes throughout the movie make reference to the original story, where Abby is actually a boy who was castrated when turned into a vampire. The trash bag that father wears on his head was the actor Richard Jenkins' idea, and the 12-year-old photos are actually of him. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.